Hello there, welcome again to Market Insight for a midweek edition here on Souk News Television. I am David Chiedu. Now, there are emerging technologies in the world today, and nations with developing and emerging economies such as Nigeria need to stimulate awareness and adoption of these technologies to expedite effective and efficient service delivery, which we are. Now, one of such emerging technologies is blockchain technology. Now, so far, the federal government's move to establish an indigenous blockchain infrastructure initiative has received strong backing from the National Blockchain Policy Implementation Steering Committee. As a matter of fact, 2 weeks ago, the government announced that it plans to create a homegrown blockchain in a move to ensure data security and privacy. Now, we're examining this on today's edition of the program as we talk about blockchain infrastructure in Nigeria and its impact on data security and privacy. Joining us in the conversation this morning is Rume Ophi. He is a crypto and blockchain educator, an analyst, and entrepreneur. He is the founder and lead of the Crypto Preacher Blockchain Academy, which is a leading blockchain training and education platform in Nigeria. Many thanks for joining us this morning, Rume. It's indeed lovely to have you join us.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to be here. I think it's the first time, and I think I'm loving it.
Get your thoughts on some issues. You're an expert, in the field, and you would agree with me that blockchain technology, as it were, wasn't particularly received, well in the country. It didn't particularly start off, on the right foot, if you want to put it that way. It became a villain of the state at some point with the NSAS movement, or better yet, from the NSAS movement, which was more or less a response to youths being criminalized for having crypto apps on their phones, to the part where the Central Bank of Nigeria refused to recognize Bitcoin, as well as the federal government itself outrightly resisting blockchain technology. So it's had its, torrid moments. However, the support from blockchain communities in the country over the last few years has seen the government backpedaling, and then throwing its weight behind it, and even going on to adopt the national blockchain policy as at last year, May to be exact. Now, we have a move. We've seen a move that is strongly supported by that particular committee spearheading the policy, to go on ahead and establish an indigenous, or to create rather, an indigenous blockchain, an indigenous blockchain to ensure the information of Nigerians and Nigeria, as you were, are secure. Now, let's start from here. What are your thoughts regarding this move generally, vis-a-vis the current state of Nigeria's blockchain infrastructure? Let's start from there.
All right. It's a welcome development. It makes a lot of sense as far as I'm concerned. The government is making giant strides to make sure that we are not lagging behind in innovative technology, emerging tech like blockchain, AI. You can see a couple of things that the current Minister of Communication and Digital Economy is doing. And it makes a whole lot of sense, but it's not, it won't end there. There's a lot to be done. There's a lot to be done. A lot of sensitization needs to be done. A couple of persons in their numbers still see blockchain as cryptocurrency. That is not correct. Blockchain is the base layer for all of the cryptocurrency. It has its own uniqueness to store value, and also make sure that we don't have informations that are not authentic, if you ask me. But again, I think the path at which we started was a good one from the informal sector, but for government, it's appearing like there is this clash of interests as against the word cryptocurrency, most especially like Bitcoin, as you mentioned earlier. and the NSAS and all that came up with cryptocurrency. Well, I think it's beyond cryptocurrency. Blockchain is being used for different areas, uh, from uh, from the medical field to law to power. A lot of being used on the blockchain. So, coming up with the steering committee for blockchain roadmap, it makes a whole lot of sense. But we need the reorientation of government to make sure that they don't see blockchain as cryptocurrency or Bitcoin.
Now, I'm going to take you up on this a little more. Of course, you've talked a lot about sensitization and enlightenment and, well, education, which is more of the same anyway. We're going to get more into that. But I want to take you up first on the idea of the clear distinction, if you like, the dichotomy between one and the other, and that is cryptocurrency and blockchain technology, which of course fits into the Internet of Things. Now, recent development of blockchain 2.0 and 3.0 away from cryptocurrency has shown its enormous potential in critical sectors, as you mentioned as well. Just to reiterate, health, education, identity management, and so on and so forth, even as a democratic tool. It's been used in, electoral processes, as you were, which are all huge data silos that are more or less susceptible to duplicity. Now, I'm curious. I'm very curious at this point in time, and I reckon that there are many others like me who are watching, who are keen on wanting to know exactly, how this works, the finer details of it all. So, if I were, for instance, an enthusiast of sorts, or let me rephrase that, maybe the head of an agency or the custodian of a certain institution, perhaps a financial institution or the health institution or something of the sort related. I would like to know exactly how the blockchain technology would help to enhance data security and Sunday processes in the country, with the examples of the agencies I've mentioned or the institutions I've mentioned. Just exactly how? Can you kindly walk us through this?
So let me give you a background from the Bitcoin blockchain. Bitcoin is very popular. The Bitcoin blockchain is the most successful. That actually changed everything since 2008 up to now. It is this is it. So let me go really down the rabbit hole right now. The blockchain is see it as a book where everyone that is having a copy can write something and it reflects, let's say I write A on this and it reflects on yours and it reflects on every other person on that network, right? So you can, if I write A, that means you validate it, the other persons on that network validates it. So it's in sync. So there's nobody that's going to most likely cheat the system or manipulate the system. So it's a system where if information goes in that on that network, it cannot be changed, it cannot be altered, it cannot be erased, it cannot be manipulated. So where data now comes in is when data is imputed on that blockchain, be it public or private blockchain, it cannot be changed as long as possible. So the example I gave for the Bitcoin blockchain, for example, that was made possible by the anonymous founder Satoshi Nakamoto, has information of transactions from 2009 till date. It is called the Genesis block. Like I said, I will try my possible best not to go into very huge terminology so that I don't make a lot of persons not understand. Right about now.
Rume, if you want to, it's okay for you to go into them. However, you're going to oblige us and, break it down in simple terms so that we can understand. Because we're laymen, you are the professional. It'll be, in everybody's best interest if there is an understanding as opposed to the technicalities and the jargon, the technical jargon per se. So feel free to, enlighten us more as best as you can.
Yes. Thank you very much. So the basics, the kernel of this discussion is that when information goes into the blockchain, it cannot be erased, right? So for something, it is immutable. It cannot be destroyed. It is decentralized. That is, the informations that goes into the blockchain are actually shared among participants of that the particular blockchain. So, for example, the Bitcoin blockchain, when transactions of Bitcoin goes into it, the informations are actually broadcasted to everyone on that network, right? At that point in time. So it's not like somebody's going to change something. So it's registered there. So bringing it down to the various sectors. So for example, say shipping, health, where we don't have accurate data. In fact, we're still more or less gambling with the data around our population. Some persons are saying it's 250. Some persons are saying it is 300 million. So where we have an infrastructure of such that is indigenous, you see that when data are imputed in such a thing, the fact that it's immutable and it cannot be, in fact, facts cannot be falsified makes it really unique. So that is for our population. So maybe in the future, we should think of going into using capturing data with our own indigenous blockchain infrastructure here in Nigeria. Then also health, talking about health record, it can be synchronized as well when we get some of this data from health professionals, from blood type to genotype, so that the idea of people going to the intensive care unit and the idea of not getting their genotype or blood that matches theirs is actually all of those are mitigated so that we don't start losing people unnecessarily. So if we have a system, their data imputed into a system that absorb medical record on a blockchain for Nigerians, is just for someone to type in the necessary details and you call out all the information. From there, any hospital that is connected to the internet could be able to get such information. That is for health. We also talk about power. The idea of people not knowing exactly what they consume on an annual or monthly or weekly or daily basis. We can also know how many megawatts of electricity that we can be able to we consume, because if when information is imputed in a blockchain system, is designed in a way by there's a timestamp for it. That is the time in the data comes in, and those data afterwards that goes in, maybe the time, date, and a lot of things depending on the parameters that are being imputed on the blockchain. Then law, talking about a legal system where you'll be seeing judges giving judgment on the appeal court for a particular judgment in this court of jurisdiction, and another giving a contradicting judgment. We won't be having that if some of these informations are imputed in the blockchain. They can all be called upon when the needs arise. Then the judgment could be given decisively. I don't want to even talk about blockchain voting, because the fact that it's so transparent, maybe peradventure, it's going to offend a couple of people, because the system, when it's imputed, you cannot change it.
Okay, so now let me ask a question here. You have talked about the consortium, if you like, or the federation, so to speak, of a blockchain to facilitate easy access by all involved. But then there is the curiosity that piques me right now. How do these systems, how do they facilitate the connection? What goes into the process particularly? If I'm an entity right now, or I own an entity right now, and I want to make this happen, I would really need to know exactly how I can, get in on the action. Because of course, clearly, just as you have explained, it is indeed a consortium of several systems or several units, as he were, connected to one who have accessibility. And of course, the information input therein is immutable. But how do I get in?
So, like I said, there's a public and there's a private blockchain. So if we're putting a public blockchain for the Nigerian state, for example, where you can come in as an organization is to plug in. So most likely it's going to be an open source. That is, the codes are actually out there for you to download and be able to fashion it in a way where you can work with in your system. So, for example, if I'm the open blockchain, the public blockchain for Nigerian state, for example, and I'm working in the head sector, there's going to be a system where you plug in, that is, we call it interoperability. That is, these systems can exchange information. They can be interwoven. They can link them. They can link themselves. So it's just for you to have your own data bank in check or be in place. Then you plug into it. That is, you connect to it using the for example, Ethereum, for example. I really don't want to go there but let me give a brief information about it. So Ethereum has something called Ethereum virtual machine. So if we have a virtual machine that people can plug in to run decentralized apps, or that makes a whole lot of sense. When I mean decentralized app, I mean apps that don't have a single point of failure. That is, the informations are decentralized. That is, the centralized system has a central point where, for example, if something goes on wrong, for example, if you hear of recent, Microsoft has some data security challenges, so there was a failure there. But in the blockchain system, there's no single point of failure. So if one point is failing, the other points are actually working. So it's not going to bring anything down. So coming back to your question, what you can come in, if we have an open system, there's going to be, make sure that those building that system has the ability to have the interoperability, where things can be able to come into it and be able to work in sync. So you can plug in different areas. You make it look like, oh, this is the central. Then there are other subsets that can move around, that are work in sync on that level. So if you're in law, there's going to be a system where all of the law firms in Nigeria actually plugging into that, so they can be able to exchange information on that base. Then if you are in health, all the health center, health hubs will be able to plug into that. If you are into logistics, all of the logistic company from the maritime sector and all of that, for us to be able to track what comes in the system. So an open system where people that are outside can plug in makes fantastic sense, rather than having it private, where it's just secluded to a certain organization or a certain industry. So we can have a public blockchain where it can be, that is interactive, that has in an interoperability nature, where all of that. What I mean interoperability, ability to connect from different areas, irrespective of what infrastructure or what software you're working with. I think that is clear.
Saying, and this is just to confirm, that individuals can take a hold of this particular technology to ensure confidentiality and security of their own private data. Is that what you're saying?
So in terms of the data, I don't think I got that question correctly, because it was shaky.
Can they take hold of this technology to ensure the certainty of the security of their private data?
You can't, not like the central system. The central system, you see advertisers here and there getting data from social media platforms like Facebook, and I think Facebook, actually, Mark Zuckerberg has that issue at some point in time, or having people are harvesting your data to make money. But in the blockchain system, is not possible. The data are not out there for people to gain access directly. You is a central, the way the data are imputed. Everyone has this protection, all right, has this protection of their data. That is not the idea of somebody having the whole of everyone's data to do anything with it. So the fact that it cannot be hacked, first and foremost, and the fact that no central is not stored in a central database, gives you right to own your data. That is, you have a say in what this ever decision is being made as far as your data is concerned. So the like I said, the data around that infrastructure goes around it, that is being shared. So I have privilege to my data. I can only give it to you at my permission. You also have privilege to my data if you give privilege to such information. I don't know if it is clear.
Perfectly clear. Now, we have issues with our, data security handling in the country. Now, in your view as an expert, what are the most significant security challenges facing Nigeria, and how can blockchain technology address them?
I think what is happening with data privacy and security is people not being responsible, but blockchain can make it more responsible or even better responsible. What I mean by not being responsible is that, for example, I heard about the NIN data being out. Like, people should be fired for that. Held should roll on that. But nothing is going on, and it is usual that nothing is going to happen. So in a case like that, we look forward to a situation whereby we use a system that can hold us accountable. You put your data, and your data is safe. That can make a lot of sense. That the fact that you know that your data cannot be hacked or cannot be put out there randomly without you being co founder or partner in that scheme, it makes a whole lot of sense. So I employ professionals in or the government involved in that, the government agency, I beg your pardon, involved in that to put their thinking caps on to make sure this is being used rather than using the traditional. And I also observe that we have duplication of data out there. When you do your driver's license, your data is out there. When you do international passport, your data is out there, and a couple of other things. So sometimes it's really, really difficult considering or at risk, considering cybersecurity risk that is involved. As cyber security is something that we have not really also taken very seriously. Because of this duplication of data, people can actually, bad actors can actually use those data against the citizens with phishing scams and all of that, putting things that doing social engineering with your data, making sure they bring things that are appealing to you, and you click them and you get hacked, and systems get shut down for companies, and ransomware attacks are on, telling you to pay this, that to be able to get access to your stuff. So using blockchain will help to arrest all of those challenges. It's not going to be an easy way, but we have to start from somewhere. You have to build. That's why we need the agents of government to be able to bring the best, the best and young mind. It's so amazing that a lot of young persons are interested in all of these, and ages. I think ages between about 20 to about 35 young people are interested in this. So what the government need to do is to create a platform around it where they could make the best of it to our advantage, rather than going to very funny things that are not good to our economy, or be able to get very bad portray us in a very bad light. So I'm expecting a whole lot to come up. Put hackathon where people, not only cookathon and the others that we're saying, hackathon on the blockchain infrastructure and emerging technology is happening in other parts of the world, and also talking about putting it in our educational system. Our educational system is not meeting up to the current challenges that we have with us right now. So people learning about blockchain from primary school will make a whole lot of sense. But we're not doing all of that now. But I think with events like this, that information was going to go out.
Let's talk regulations. You would agree with me that there is indeed a need to find a balance of sort between the decentralized nature of blockchain and the need for the rule of law to, be maintained, specifically when a technology such as this with enormous potential is being adopted or is being, put into use, as it were, by the authorities. In fact, some stakeholders have called for categorizing it as a national infrastructure that should be regulated. Now, we have the Data Protection Act of last year, which Mr. President signed into law. That's the Data Protection Act of 2023, of which, the primary, it is the primary legislative framework for the protection of personal information of persons and businesses in the country. So how does all of this conform to the current, that's what we're talking about, that's the blockchain technology. How does it all conform to what we have as currently constituted, being our, regulatory and legislative frameworks, particularly in terms of data security and privacy? And in what ways can these frameworks be strengthened?
Thank you very much for the question. I think that what is going on right now in Nigeria as regards regulation and the blockchain and also the crypto ecosystem, it seems those not in government are sort of ahead of those in government. So and this technology is disruptive in nature. So what I think we should be doing now, although we've been sleeping for a very long time, I think that the law, no, I think the National Assembly, yes, should enact uh, some laws around it, because most times when we talk about blockchain and what comes to people's mind is very, very funny. Like, oh, Yahoo boy, the level of ignorance is just above board. Even law enforcement agents have actually harassed people in the past because of the word blockchain or see them having blockchain. It's quite different from a blockchain wallet. A blockchain wallet is different from a blockchain technology. So sometimes we as experts are usually very cautious of what we see and how we say it at that point in time, because you have to give a whole lecture for some of these people to understand. So it beholds on the National Assembly. It's happening in Congress. It happened
Let me
in
pause
Congress in
your
the US.
thoughts there for a second, Rume. We will continue with what the government is doing vis-a-vis and what they can do as well, vis-a-vis regulations and whatnot, and legislation and whatnot. But you mentioned blockchain wallet and blockchain technology, if I heard you correctly. So what is the difference one from the other? Because, of course, this is an enlightenment session, and I reckon that every detail counts. So can you shed more light and expatiate on what that means exactly, just so we're clear?
All right, so there's a platform called blockchain.com. If you go on Google and check blockchain.com, you can also have their apps. I'm not doing this, is not more like an advert for them. They've been in business for a very long time. They are a wallet provider. They're called blockchain. Also, like I said, blockchain.com. It is quite different from the blockchain technology that we're talking about. But a lot of people mix this together. They tell you, or you tell them you're into blockchain, they're like, oh, what crypto should I buy now? Which one is going to pump? Things like that. It's quite different. So see the blockchain as a unique data storage infrastructure where information are kept safe and to the authority or the greater control of the individual, right? Then this other one is a wallet, is a software that is designed to hold the digital asset. For those that don't know what digital assets are, more like, back then when we were much younger playing video games, we usually have some scores, some coins. So in this case, these coins have use, but that on those games, coins that you can use per adventure to buy. Maybe if you're doing a car race, you buy a car, or you buy or increase your strength if you're doing all of those games that are for fighting or maybe wrestling or something or boxing. But this is a coin or digital asset that you can spend in the real world. also using the internet as a gateway, so it's money over internet protocol. We're going to the monetary partner, which is cryptocurrency, that a lot of people confuse, so there's a distinction right there, the blockchain wallet and the blockchain technology. So the blockchain wallet is blockchain.com wallet, and it's quite different, absolutely different from the blockchain technology. The finance aspect of the blockchain is really, really popular. That is why you have everybody talking about cryptocurrency. It has overshadowed the infrastructure, the data privacy part. It has covered the logistics part. It has covered the health sector. People are building, a lot of young persons that I know in this industry in Nigeria are building products around health for the blockchain, on the blockchain. All right. So maybe as time goes on, if we have a if we have a public blockchain that is that caters for Nigeria, they're going to plug in all of their products so that people can be able to reference them and interact with them to get the value that they have in store. So I've been able to differentiate that. It's more or less becoming an academic section, but please pardon me. Blockchain wallet is different from blockchain.
So you're saying we can have this as individuals. We can have this just like we have our bank wallets and whatnot. Oh, and by the way, kudos on the gaming analogy. It shows that you did a lot of video game playing, like some of us as well did. So anyway, can we have this just like we have our bank apps and our bank wallets and whatnot?
All right. Yes. So from the so it's kind of different, so from the end user perspective, then from the design and the so from the engineering perspective, which is framework perspective, and the end user perspective is quite different, so a lot of us involved in the industry understand some of the nitty gritty of the industry deep down the rabbit hole. A whole lot of people are confused because it has some technical jargons. It's kind of a bit confusing. I was discussing with someone the other day. It was like, the thing is too difficult, but it's going to get to a time where you don't have to even know the underlying infrastructure. What you just need to do is to transact using or value exchange using an app on that end. So that's the end user section of it. So for example, if you're using your bank app for now to do transaction, you don't know what goes on at the back end, but you just know that you transfer and the transaction hits someone's account. There's some things going on there that has infrastructure that has to run 247. They don't have to be time out. If there is, you're going to see that your transaction is not going to pull through. So we're getting to all of that user-friendly apps where you can input. I believe a whole lot of them are happening right now. Underneath, some are still building that you don't know what the base infrastructure is running on. Most times, if it runs on blockchain, you might not know until you're told, because the fact that the speed and the fact that there's no so before now you used to see maybe some of these are big banks having weekends, you having very downtime, transactions will not be going through or towards the end of the month. But if they are running their infrastructure on the blockchain, some of these things will be moving very fast because there's not going to be downtime, because the transaction has been registered on the blockchain and is going to pull through, and what you as an end user, you don't have to know, you don't have to worry yourself of what is actually going on. All you care about is you send money or you send value.
All right.
And it's done.
Now, very quickly, let's continue your thoughts on the regulations and how they can be strengthened and made better so that they don't go from being regulations to being impediments or barriers per se to the flourishing of this particular technology. Can you do that very quickly? Finish your thoughts on that one.
Yeah, so the regulation is very slow. A few things have happened. In fact, I must say, previous administration, the most recent administration didn't really pull through a couple of things. In fact, the industry was stifled. It's really terrible, to say the least. People were arrested. People were a lot of you don't have to even talk about blockchain right now. Then, but a few persons are actually on right now, but we don't have it being perfect now. But we're riding on the statement of the current administration that says they are going to use blockchain and cryptocurrency to better our financial sector. Fantastic. We are still expecting to see that happen in right scale. But I think that more like what the Congress is doing in the United States, the National Assembly need to sit down and come up with a regulation right now. What is going on now in Nigeria between the CBN and the SEC? It's a situation whereby things are not really that easy. We need something that people can really be innovative about. We're only saying something, innovate and regulate, I beg your pardon, and don't strangulate. Regulate and don't strangulate. What we have now is some sort of strangulation. What I'm proposing for the National Assembly to do, both chambers need to come up and say, come on, where are these young people involved in this technology? What do you guys think? That we bring it together and harmonize exactly what is going on in places like Singapore and also here in Africa. South Africa is doing quite well. The regulatory framework for digital assets and cryptocurrencies are actually been issued to players in that regard. But here in Nigeria, it's been front and back. But we hope that right now, with the appointment of the new SEC DG, something reasonable can come in. But regulation is not the way it ought to be in this country. And it's quite embarrassing because we are the giants of Africa. We are supposed to be leading that conversation. Also, in the ECOWAS Committee of Nations, we are supposed to be leading that conversation. But we have not actually, like they say, charity begins from home. We haven't done anything reasonable. So that is why I'm employing people, Nigerians, to be able to elect people that can be able to champion causes like this in the future, not people that actually see things from the old way of doing things, the paper way of doing things. We have actually moved from there to a more recent way where things can work, and emerging technologies aiding all of that to make sure that we move our economy to the right way and be proud of ourselves among committee of nations.
Interesting stuff. Now I'm going to harp on that phrase you used, which is, packing quite the punch. Regulate, not strangulate. Should I attach your name to the quote, Rume?
I don't mind.
Right. Anyway, so let's talk about what you mentioned much earlier, vis-a-vis spreading this gospel, quote unquote, of blockchain technology. And I'm talking about enlightenment, that is. So now let's get deeper into it. Let's take your recommendations as an expert. How can this word be spread? Now, of course, if we talk about things like this, we're only going to be looking at the government. But of course, other stakeholders involved. We're talking CSOs, we're talking NGOs, we're talking, professionals like yourself, and the wider majority of stakeholders, subnational and national levels. How do we propagate the message? Because as you said, and rightly so, this particular emerging technology is something that we should be championing as, one of the biggest economies on the continent, as he were. So how do we put this word out and, get everybody informed?
All right. So putting this out has to be local. You must have heard words like politics is local, but I think in this we have to be more local because the truth is our population is our strength. I believe in Nigeria, and I believe with the huge human resource that we have. Personally, I have brought blockchain education to worship centers. Personally, I've done discussions around blockchain and cryptocurrency as a Christian in my church. I've done. I'm usually on TV, on national TV every week, analyzing cryptocurrencies and also blockchain infrastructures. I do that I've been doing that for the past 3 years. I've collaborated with platforms to bring education to the locals. I think late 2020 December, I was in Computer Village with a few of my students in partnership with a company which I don't want to mention their name here because they have to pay for adverts. you know, talking about cryptocurrencies and digital assets. It's I think it was about a 4 days event. I've been to universities. I've been to University of Ibadan to talk about this technology. I've been to the University of Lagos. I've been to the University of Benin twice, I think 2018, 19, and 2020. I think twice, yes. All of this support with some organizations. I do, and I do a section on a daily basis on one of the social media called Clubhouse on a daily basis. I've been doing that for the past 3 years now, where I discuss with my colleagues abroad in the US, in the UK, Thailand, Japan, and some parts of Africa. We're doing that, I think, about 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's about 4, 5 p.m. our time. So it's not been easy. This is a personal effort. I have a community of young people on my Telegram, WhatsApp these days is becoming very tiring. I have people doing it for me though, but it's a huge job. I'm this person that believes that if I'm going to be telling government to do something, I should be able to have done a bit of mine, from the traditional media, done articles here and there. So where we need government to come in is to incorporate some of these things into our education system. Our education system is something that we need to focus more on. Our education system is not catering for our current challenges. The other day, I stumbled into a news that says for you to get into a higher institution using JAM, you have to have about 140. I was so embarrassed, because it shows that we're not improving our education, and this technology can help boost some of that. I'm even thinking of discussing with my federal lawmaker. I think I was speaking with him some days ago, where we could go really local. Those days when you want to write WAEC or JAM, some of those lessons that you go to. This is a free nugget for those that want to try it. I'm looking at going to speak to some of those guys and tell them that they could add a few of blockchain and cryptocurrency technology so that we can be able to go that. We don't need it to officially come from the government because governments are usually slow because of regulation and some of the things they are battling with. So the best way to catch them young is from the education, from the institution. Higher institution makes a whole lot of sense, but sometimes before they go into the higher institutions, they also need to be sensitized. I don't mind if about 50% of our young people are involved in emerging technologies like blockchain, cryptocurrency, AI, because that is where we are going. And a lot of people are complaining of not having their jobs, and their jobs right there. The reason why people are not having job is the fact that they don't have the right skill to match
All
the
right.
present day
Okay. All right, Rume.
demand.
Thank you very much for that. I really wish we had more time, so I can take some more of your testimonies vis-a-vis what your organization and network has done or are doing with regards to this. But as we close now, earlier you mentioned some countries. I think you mentioned Singapore, if I'm not mistaken, as well as others, in that Far East region and Middle Eastern region. We're talking the one you mentioned, Singapore, India, China, the UAE. They all have well-established blockchain infrastructures, as you were. Surely there's something we can learn from them. But the question is, and this is a two-pronged question right now, is there something that we can do better than them? Like I said, there is something we can learn from them, but can we do it better? Can we go one better than what they are doing or what they have done? That's question one. Question two, now this is us, prognosticating, so to speak, futuristically speaking. Where do you as a professional see us with our blockchain infrastructure in the near future, say maybe a decade from now? Can you do that in a minute or less?
Where I see, I'll start from the last one. To start on the last one, I see us making huge progress, but different government comes with their various policy, which can also hinder that growth. So we need the laws to come in place so that we can always use the law as our guide, so that when substantive government comes in, this move can actually come in, because it's usually 4-year cycle where somebody comes in with their own strategy and everything is being messed up. So we can get better than these people because we have our unique problem. The challenges in Singapore, the challenges in Thailand, the challenges in the UK are not same as us. So we have our unique challenges. So we can go traditional with some of these things, see how far we have proper data being saved on the blockchain on how we can be able to engage our farmers to give them more fertilizers, those so that they can the idea of palliative being hijacked and all of those things, we won't be having them anymore, and make sure we have all the best of the
Okay.
best
All
of our
right.
human resources.
Thank you very much, Rume Ophi, for joining us. It's been a really interesting conversation, I must say, and quite enlightening. I mean, I was none the wiser about an hour ago, and now I think I can boldly stand and speak, authoritatively, well, not authoritatively, but I can speak to an extent on blockchain technology and its appurtenances. Thanks to you. Again, Rume Ophi is a crypto and blockchain educator. He is also an analyst and an entrepreneur. He is the founder and lead of Crypto Preacher Blockchain Academy. That is a leading blockchain training and education platform in Nigeria. Many thanks indeed, Rume Ophi, for joining us today on the program. We do appreciate your time.
Always a pleasure.
Right. You're still watching Market Insight here on Souk News Television. Just a quick look at what we have spoken about. We've talked about the blockchain infrastructure in Nigeria and its impact on data security and privacy. Our experts has walked us through the regulation, walked us through how it works and all of that. But something he said did strike us, regulate, not strangulate. He also talked about harmonizing and enlightenment from different across the board, basically, just so that this emerging technology does us good, as it were. That's it on Market Insight. But before we go, very quickly a look at the currency market. The dollar is trading to the naira on the official market at 1,510 naira. The pound sterling at 1,996 naira, the euro 1,684 naira, and on the parallel markets, the dollar is trading to the naira 1,591 naira, to the pound sterling 2,050 naira, and to the euro 1,724 naira. That's the report from the currency market. Many thanks for watching Market Insight this morning on Souk News Television. Do join us at another time. I am David Chiedu. Enjoy your day.